Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Neuroshima Hex. Specifically, this is the year of Molach box, so like Neuroshima Hex 3.0. This game is actually relatively old. I remember seeing it like when I was first in the hobby. And
damn, that's what, 8 years, 9 years?
Neuroshima Hex 2006
Holy
is
shit.
when it initially came out, I think. But this was always a game that I kind of stayed away from because it at the time I was really big into Ameritrash, like chucking dice and a bunch of miniatures and stuff like that. But as the years went on, I got a lot more into like the strategy heavy ones. So I figured I'd give this one a shot. And before I even bought this, I got the app. And I was telling you that I had it on the app, and I always lost. I just, for some reason, just didn't get it against the bots, and the bots just always swept me. But I can say I enjoy this. It's not bad.
I don't think it's bad.
It's weird.
It is. We talked about that in between our warm-up game and then this one.
It kind of it's definitely unique. This fits in the similar vein of like Summoner Wars, where it's a skirmish, head-to-head, where you have factions fighting each other, but instead of miniatures and moving around, Summoner Wars is card-based, and you move cards, and here it's tiles. So, and I wonder when Summoner Wars initially came out, because they're second edition.
Biggest difference being Summoner Wars, you can move your cards.
Yes.
And this, you have to have a move tile or a tile that has mobility.
Yes. Yeah. So, this one feels more chess-like.
Yes, I was gonna say checkers, chess.
Yeah, checkers is a little bit better. But yeah, you have the unique strategy of, because your units, depending on your faction, actually is like mine. The Molach are pretty landlocked.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I place them, and that can weigh heavily. So this game, I feel like, can be extremely polarizing. Some people may hate this game because it's like, why can't my unit move? I don't necessarily think this game is super thematic.
No, I don't.
By
any means, I don't think so either.
Yeah, I appreciate that there is factions.
Yes.
And that's one of my favorite things about head-to-head games. It's one of the reasons why I don't really care for chess, is because, one, chess has been, analyzed to hell, and if anyone has played it, it's like way more than the other person. They're just going to wipe you. And it doesn't, for me, allow replayability. So I like the fact that, okay, I want to do this faction, and they play different than that faction, but not too different.
Not really. Not super different.
Yeah, they're not 100% asymmetrical, but they are, at least it's not one of those where we have the same units.
Yeah. The exact same units have the exact same abilities.
Right. And then the deciding factor comes into, when did I drew mine before you drew yours.
Yeah.
But that is definitely kind of it's so strange. It's so strange.
It's a weird game.
Right? That's what I was going to say, is that people may hate that, where it's like, why can't I move my unit? Like, why is he just stuck there? And you can try and pull in some theme in that this, we're playing on the tiniest of boards or grids. So why shouldn't he move? But it could also revolve around, you could do just the chaos of battle.
Say, when you were first telling me about this, way back when, my initial thought was hexes. I was like, man, it's going to be like something Spire.
Oh, Cloud Spire.
Cloud Spire, thank you. It's got these giant hexes. There's a lot of free-flowing movement, and I was not expecting this.
Right.
I wasn't going in thinking, oh, so we're going to have this tiny grid with immovable pieces, and it's just going to be a constant fight to see who can damage whose base first.
Yeah.
Which I think it's kind of neat and kind of bad. It's a double-edged sword to be able to place your base anywhere on the map. without a locked starting position.
Yeah.
Because literally we can put them right next to each other.
You can't.
And that's an automatic damage to one another.
Right.
Every combat.
That's true. That's true. And I initially, because I didn't put it right next to yours at the beginning, but I was like, what happens if you do? And it's like...
We're going to constantly fighting over the one hex.
Right.
The whole time.
Yep. And it's very interesting, and it allows for a different type of gameplay. Naturally, I feel like you're going to do complete opposites. You're going to have that half of the board, this is mine, that's yours. But honestly, with the placement, like let's say with my faction, the Molach, for example, let's say I did put my base over, like right next to yours. Well, that means you're going to put all your melee near it. Then that leaves me with just all that open room for my range. Yeah.
Because you have far more range characters than I do.
Right, so it does allow for a different type of strategy where your HQ is. And that's what I think ultimately makes me like this game more than I feel like I should, because there's a lot more strategy to a decision you make. And what should bug me, and I don't know if it bugs you, because I can attribute it to any type of card game, is our very first game we played of this, like the first two hands I drew, the 3 tiles were not units.
No, yeah, they were all actions.
They were all instant tiles, and it's like, that could be extremely frustrating, because you're like, well, you're getting all your units, but, well, I know they're in here. This is a limited stack that I'm guaranteed to get. So it's like, yeah, you might, because I had a really good lead at the very beginning, and then all of a sudden in one turn you're doing 7 damage. Yeah, and it's like, and then because you had them there, and then I had my units and I can't move them, it became extremely difficult to try and get to your heavy hitter net guy. Yeah. So that's why I think I really like it, because every tile you place is almost a permanent decision. Yes. Almost. Luckily, thank God, they do have actions that allow you to move just... is it...
It's one space.
Nope. Sorry, the pushback is an adjacent enemy. Yeah. I never move my own people, but...
do you not have a move action?
One. I have 1 move tile.
I have 4.
Yeah, you have 4, but you don't have any pushbacks, do you?
No.
Nope.
And you have the... What is it? Mortar? The nuke.
The airstrike.
Airstrike. Yeah. I have a grenade.
Yeah. And your grenade is good because it just auto-wipes.
Yeah.
Anyone.
It's destroy 1.
My airstrike inflicts 1 wound. So if you had, armored units, it wouldn't clear the board. But that's so interesting about this game, is that whenever you place a unit, you're placing it what you feel like should be, this is the opportune time to use it right now. But it becomes useless once it's served its purpose. As soon as I place this guy right there and I pushed your guy out, well, he was high initiative and it killed, I think he was here. That's how I got rid of your net guy. And he killed that because I was able to push your person out and then place mine in there. Yep. And that was the only way I believe I won, was that combination. But as soon as he did that, he did nothing for me.
Yeah, he was basically a meat shield.
Yes, and that's where I was like, oh, well, you got your ranged people out. All right. Right at the end, so I couldn't kill him. So what's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on the permanency of the tiles?
I don't hate it. Yeah. I think it's kind of undone a little by the fact that I have units that can move with the mobility trait. But I also think some of my units having mobility also give it the uniqueness that kind of separates the factions apart.
Yeah, and the high initiative.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, they're so fast.
It made placing a lot of my tiles very difficult, because it's this is a really good unit. You're going to kill him before he can do anything.
Especially with my base giving it a +1 to initiative, an initiative order going from highest number to lowest. Yeah. I think the permanency of tiles is really where the strategy comes in and shines. Because, I can't just move this guy, but if I could rotate every piece once a turn, it makes combat way different. It makes it far more challenging than it needs to be. I like the permanency. It's you made a choice, you have to live with it. Yeah. Which is, I made the comment earlier in the run through. I was like, God, I'm.
Oh yeah, what were you referring to?
So you had a piece here.
Yeah.
And I had a piece here.
Yep.
And then this guy was going to kill him and him before I could do anything with it.
Oh.
And then I realized this could rotate.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, I can fix it.
Yeah, because your base gave it the +1 initiative,
yeah.
which was rough. Because I was sitting there and I was like, because that was the time I was going to play the battle tile. And I was like, oh, I'll at least do 1 damage. And you're like, no, because that's a 4. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Because there was one point with that unit there, he was armored. And the one you placed there, initially, you didn't have him facing him. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's going to hit him for 1, but then I'll be able to kill him. And then you rotate it, and I'm like, damn it, he saw. he saw it. So.
But yeah, I think the permanency, I do like it, that there's a competitiveness there that I do appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Because in competitive Magic play, once you commit to something, you are committed to it. You can't take it back.
Right. It's also permanency, like, not just in where you're placed, like, in how you're placing your unit, but the fact that, like, your modules are, I mean, they're technically considered units, so you can realistically move them or rotate them if you need them to. But...
And I did do that earlier. I used a move token to move this back.
Right.
And then placed a unit there to attack.
Right. But it's interesting because it's like once... It's also like... Because it's such restricted space that unless you're battling a lot, like, it tightens the board up.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there could be a lot of people who have played this game a lot could have that type of forward thinking. Like if they play... This is one of those games that you can get really good with a faction.
Yeah.
Most
definitely.
More so than other games, where it's like... because they're not so drastically different.
No, I wouldn't say they're crazy different.
But it's like, okay, if I play Molach a lot, then you could potentially learn the strategies and the usefulness of placement where they should be placed against various other factions.
Absolutely.
Now, we're nowhere near that,
no.
like, at all. I'm never like that with competitive games like this because I just don't like tournament play for these.
There's no reward other than I won.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're going to tournaments where you win a shit ton of money.
Oh, yeah, that's completely different.
But
that's different from being in your friend's basement.
Exactly. But yeah, it's just super fascinating. Like, and then the other thing about this game is that your units technically don't do anything until battle's initiated. What are your thoughts on the limited battles?
I like it and I hate it also. So
you would hate it because you get 6.
well, that's the thing. So I have a lot of battles. Mm-hmm. My units are highly mobile. So we haven't tried all the factions because there's a lot.
There are a lot, and for the record, I'm gonna cut you off real quick. If you're gonna buy the Year of the Molach, this specific box, only do it if you have all the other factions. It does come with
all of them.
Yeah, with storage for all of them.
Yeah.
Like, there's apparently Mephisto, Doomsday Machine, Mississippi, Smart, Uranopolis, Death Breath. I mean, there's a shit ton of factions and a neat storage solution for it, but I believe the storage box was actually kind of expensive. And my thought process was, it's going to come with all of them. It didn't. It came with 4. But,
yeah.
But I will say, after playing this, I am going to go get them because I do like this game enough to want to have all the factions. But yeah, don't go out of your way to get this box if you don't have everything.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're going to do what I did and you're like, I played it on the app and I really like it, so then you could just get this as a starter, then get them later on. But I don't know.
But yeah, the diversity in combat also helps, like, it's another layer to having strategy. Mm-hmm. So I have 6 combat tiles, I believe.
Yeah.
6?
Because I had 4.
You have 4. Yeah. If the board is full, combat's activated. And then the final battle is activated when there are no more tiles. Mm-hmm. So in just this matchup alone, there are 12 like confirmed instances of combat.
Which one's the 12th?
So when the board's full,
Yep.
when there's no battles left, and then we have 10 battle tiles. If we were to use them
if we
all.
play them all, yeah.
So, plus you also have the knowledge of your opponent's hand.
That is super interesting. Yeah.
So if you hold a battle tile, I can, if I draw one, I just get rid of it.
Yeah.
In the case where I draw 3, that sucks.
Yeah.
But like having the knowledge and the preparedness of seeing what you have held also mitigates what I can do on my turn.
Yeah. I remember learning that the first time I ever played this, and it was like open hand. Like, place these face up in front of your opponent. So, like, whenever I draw my 3, you can see them. If I hold any over, you know that. And that's super fascinating, because you never see that in any head-to-head game of being able to... Like, imagine if you played Magic, and you could see what your opponent had in their hand.
It would be a completely different game. It would be a far different game.
Actually, yeah, technically, you can play that way. There's a... what's the blue card? That's just your opponent's hand is revealed. That's probably more than just that one. But.
Can't remember if it's propaganda or... It's an enchantment, and it says all your opponents have their hands revealed.
Yeah, and just having that information just gives you so much. But that's different in Magic, because that means you're the only one with all the information.
Yep. And that changes the whole game.
Right. It essentially makes you a target.
Oh, yeah.
But in this, it's not like that. It's both players. Technically, this can be played with multiple people.
I was assuming you could play it with up to 4.
Yeah, it technically has multiplayer rules. As far as I know, no one does that.
I feel like with the small amount of spaces, 4 players would be a lot.
I think
combat would be...
I think it expands out to here. If I had to guess, unless there's a backside of the board, there technically is, but it's not. I was like, oh, maybe it's dual layered on the other side, but no. As far as I know, no one plays this multiplayer. It's always been head to head. But yeah, the limited battle is another element of strategy on top of it, because it ties into the other thing I really like about the hand management of you draw 3, or you draw up to 3, or you draw 3 and you discard 1.
You are forced to just pitch 1.
Yep, unless you cannot draw up to 3. So like at the end when I drew my 1 tile, you don't have to discard after that. But yeah, so, which I like. I like the fact you draw 3, because then you get to weigh all your options and you can compare it. It's like, oh, what do you have? You have that unit. It's like, which one benefits me? Can I block? Oh, you're keeping that unit. Well, that's only melee. You're probably going to put him there. Okay, so I'll get rid of this instead and put it in a spot to where now that unit is useless.
Yep.
It's fascinating. This is such a unique game in a head-to-head that it weirdly blows my mind. But there's still the element of randomness.
Yep.
Which I can't really dog on it too much, because then I'd have to really shit on Magic for any game, really.
Yeah.
The good news is that you're almost always gonna, unless you're really playing badly and they just wipe you before you get to go, you're almost always gonna get to go through your whole stack. So that's where experience comes in. Like, you knew I had the airstrike in, so like potentially position them in a way that like there isn't an open spot to wipe around or armor them. But it also could be that's the first thing I fucking draw.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, it's useless right now, so I guess I can hold it the entire game.
Which limits you down. You're basically discarding 2 tiles every turn then.
True, because I'm not drawing up. Yeah. And then that limits how much, you're right, how much I draw, so I'm not going to get the better units. But it also lets you know I have an airstrike in my back pocket.
Yeah.
So then you're going to position them in a way that it's not going to be as useful.
So like I said earlier, it's double-edged sword on all the decision making, which is both a good and a bad thing.
Yeah.
But also I think it just works because of the size and the scale of the game.
Mm-hmm. And this game it lasts 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I was sitting here, I was like, 2 hours. 2 hours.
Well, because, I mean, if we think of another dice throne that we're doing for the tournament, those are about an hour.
Yeah.
Like, unless one of us just gets super lucky and steamrolls the other player. If we're both doing shit, it's about an hour. BattleCon, also about an hour. But this one, you get that same level of strategy. Dice Throne, maybe not so much. There is still strategy in it, but it definitely hinges way more on luck.
It hinges a lot on them dice.
And we've played BattleCon together, so now you're familiar with that. That one is almost all strategy.
Oh yeah,
that's the one head-to-head that almost
that's where you're
no
having
luck.
Like your veins are popping out in your head.
Yeah,
you're like how
Actually,
do I kill him?
Yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, BattleCon is probably the only head-to-head game that has no luck.
It's all strategy.
It is all 100% like trying to read your opponent. But this one, once again, 30 minutes. It says 30 minutes on the box, and I was very surprised that the run-through took that time.
Because typically, what's on the box and what actually happens is not the same.
Oh god, yeah, that's almost always the case. And even then, 6-2, like that was literally the difference of me being able to kill your net guy, or not.
Yeah.
And then the game we played before this with these same factions, I think I also had a lead. Then you surpassed. You dealt more damage, and then by the final battle, it tied.
We
had no units left.
It was 2 tiles open, and I was like, no matter where you place it, it's gonna end in a tie. And there was one more round, and we didn't do anything.
Yeah, we couldn't do anything. Because that's a very interesting also tiebreaker where it's like do one more round, play any tiles or do any tile abilities.
And you were like, I'm pretty sure it's whoever has more tiles on the board wins.
And that's what I would have figured.
Nope, it's all life totals.
That would have been my initial guess as the tiebreaker was whoever has the most units left on the board. No,
not the case.
Yeah. Do you have any negatives? Like, I think the only negative would be
I brought up like it's tiles. Like I would just.
I like it.
I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
I honestly don't.
It's awkward a little bit to shuffle.
Yeah.
You just kind of.
I was like, we could just do cards, but then it's Summoner Wars,
right?
So
or Magic or whatever.
Magic.
Everyone does cards.
So
it's definitely unique. Like I'm fascinated to see what the other factions are like because
I like the iconography.
Yeah.
It's real simple. It's real easy to pick up.
Yeah. I mean, because in the rule book alone, it's just like, it does your generic ones of like, here's what melee damage looks like, here's what range, here's what armor does, and what net does. And nets, dude, I fucking hate that. Nets are your equivalent of fucking a blue deck.
Yeah,
Magic
like counters.
Oh, you want to do anything? Nope.
Go fuck yourself.
And it's like, your net guy does that, and he does 3 damage? What the fuck?
Yeah, your guy nets 2 people. Mine nets them and then stabs the shit out of them.
Like, and it can go on anything. It stops modules, it stops abilities, so you shut down my HQ so I couldn't even attack him back to kill him. I was like, that's so frustrating. But one thing I do find, it could just be because I have this box and maybe it just didn't come with it, but there's like no player aid. Not that it necessarily needs one because it's hey, draw 3 tiles, discard 1, and play the other 2.
Or hold on to them.
It is kind of annoying. It's like net fighter. Like its description is net, and it's like, okay, I guess I'll go in the rule book and see what a net does.
There is one thing that bothered me. So my net fighter says Borgo's net fighters, apart from disabling the enemy, can attack them, inflicting 3 wounds. The attack is performed during battle in the net fighter's initiative phase. So I assume that means in your initiative phase is when I deal the damage. Is that how? But then it makes no sense for the attack to have an initiative at all.
What is your net? Can you hand me your net fighter guy?
There he is.
That might just be weird wording.
Yes. Because it says battle in the net fighters initiative. So, is it...
What's his name?
Net fighter.
I think he does damage in initiative 1.
Okay.
Yeah, this is kind of weird wording.
Yeah.
It's probably just more explaining the fact that because whenever you place the net, The net's immediate whenever you place them down, which is also fascinating because the nets are temporary if you lock them down. If you were able to move this guy, he's still netted, but that frees him up.
Yeah.
But moving, so it's like the nets are kind of permanent in that sense.
You have a semi-permanent.
Until they're removed. But yeah, that is probably your nastiest one. Your nets being.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
That and I mean my assassins are really good. They can move and they're ranged.
Yeah. Once you got them out, and I had no ways to deal with them, and they're also 3 initiative. Yeah.
4 if they're next to my base.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been a great time to have my fucking blocker to be like, oh, I'm right there. So actually now your guys are doing no damage.
Yeah.
But then you can just move them, and then I can't really rotate. But they can also only attack in one direction. Yeah, this game is fascinating.
It's definitely different. It's not what I expected it to be.
Yeah. I do like the fact that the things have what the units like are, like for your case, like for your faction. But I mean, I would have just also liked like a quick player aid or a quick rules guide,
a little reference sheet.
Yeah, something like that over, so you don't have to just dig through the box or dig through the rule book. Let's see. The other 2 factions that we didn't play, there's the Outposts.
Which are humans, I believe.
Yeah, so mobility is also the main advantage of the Outpost deck. It also includes a considerable number of battle tiles, so the controlling player may easily take opportunity for a quick attack. Moreover, a diversity of modules can change the course of the battle within seconds. The main disadvantage is a small number of warrior or units and their low toughness. So they only have, like compared to us, they have 2, 4, 5, 10, 12 warriors. How many do you have? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I have 17.
And I have 17 as well.
Okay. So they have 5 less warriors than us. But their HQ gives an additional attack. They have 7 movement tiles.
Ooh.
A sniper. And then 6 battle tokens. And then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 8 modules. I only have... I have 6.
I also have 6.
Okay.
I think our 2 factions are probably the closest to one another.
Yeah. Kind of like it was kind of like speed versus strength, melee versus ranged. And then the hegemony. The main advantage of the deck is a significant number of net fighters. Fuck these guys, who can be used to disrupt an enemy's most daring actions. Additionally, the deck includes a balanced number of battle move and pushback tiles, which make it quite mobile. But few ranged warriors make the army more close combat oriented. They have a net master. Apart from disabling enemy units, can also attack in melee combat. The attack is performed during battle, and the net itself works normally. Netmaster hits 2 and then hits in front of it. But they have... Yeah. They have 2...
I almost picked them.
I wouldn't have let you. Because they're yellow.
We wouldn't have even known what they did.
No, I remember nets from the app. But man, this is so personal.
I'm going to turn your whole tile off until you can get rid of my character.
Yeah, pretty much. We have a gladiator. Hits 2 for like the there, and there. And then has an armor. So, yeah. Yeah, these 4 definitely seem kind of more balanced within each other, but then there's just so many more.
Other unique ones.
Yeah. That I would imagine are balanced within each other. So, all right. You got anything else?
I don't think so.
All right.
I really like the artwork.
Yeah, the artwork is fun.
It is very nice.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give Neuroshima Hex?
I think I'm gonna give it an 8.
That's where I'm at as well.
I feel like I could give it a 9 if we played it a lot. But we haven't played it a whole lot.
Right.
And
yeah, definitely haven't played all the factions. A 9 would be if I could guarantee that the factions were balanced against one another.
All of them.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a clear cut, these are the 2 greatest factions, or this is the best faction in the whole game.
Right.
If you could play the expansions with the base and the expansions aren't ridiculous.
Right. And then it would come down to, okay, do they eventually start feeling the same? You know,
that's the other thing.
It's not. I'm not saying this game doesn't have replayability, and anyone in the comments can let me know. Oh yeah, the factions all feel different, but definitely between the ones that we have played, they do feel different enough.
Yeah, they feel different enough, and
I think I'll applaud them for keeping it like clean in that they didn't muddy up the game. It's still extremely pure.
Oh yeah.
But the differences are kind of like, oh, they have more net people, or oh, they have more battles, or more movement, or whatever.
Or their attack directions are different.
Yeah.
It's the same unit, but with different attack directions.
Yeah. Which could still like add for a different way of playing against a particular faction.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't lend itself to like the coolness of, oh my god, your faction does that. So yeah, I feel like an 8 as well. I'm feeling pretty good about that. So. All right, well, that's our thoughts on Neuroshima Hex. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.